Hi, I'm Natasha Newton, and I am working with Lake City Preschool for the curriculum. So I'm going to be developing all the curriculum for the preschool. A little bit of my background is I've been teaching 12 years, and I'm an educator through and through. I believe the most important thing to teach students is to be lifelong learners, and I love partnering with Lake City Preschool because we're teaching kids about loving Jesus and learning really amazing things about themselves. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the preschool, and always a resource as a curriculum coordinator. Every single student in every single class has something called a mission statement. The idea is that we address what are students coming and can do their buy-in. I'm going to encourage, I'm not going to tell you what to do, I'm going to encourage you to come up with it. And the first question was, well, how does the twos do that? They can't read, right? The twos do that because the teachers moderate that, and you ask them what makes a good friend, and you ask them what makes them happy. You write it down, they take the little thumbprint, and they paint their signature on it. It's also a tool for discipline.
I love it.
It's a tool for discipline. So, fun fact about me, we have a third parent in our house. Her name's Alexa. Think I'm crazy. I've had friends that said, seen it. We'll say things like, Alexa, put a 2-minute timer for Ada. Oh, she's out there. She's right there. For Ada to go clean up her room. And if she doesn't, she goes to timeout. Alexa says, 2-minute timer for Ada to go clean up her room, or she goes to timeout. Oh, Alexa is not fair. I'm like, listen, Alexa demands this of you. The reason that we hold kids to these boundaries, number one, I need my kids to look at me as their guardian, as their leader, but I also need to have that respectful space to say, I love my kids, I want to hug them. This mission statement is where you get to use your tool to say, what did we agree on? Are you maintaining what we agreed on? If we're putting our hands on friends, is that in our mission? No. And I see your thumbprint, I see your signature, I see the first letter in your name right here, and this is you. You said this is what you're doing. Oh, you're right. I need to be a better friend. I shouldn't be doing that. Rules are obsolete for kids because kids function in a world of no rules. If you don't believe me, just stare at my 2 children out there when one knocks the other with a basketball because she's mad about X, Y, and Z. So the more, and I'm giving you that one, the more that we can hold children accountable to what we agreed on, it's buy-in. The reason you guys are buying into this session is I came in and I said, what do you know? How can I help? I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to give you strategies. I'm going to help you meet a goal. If we can do that for kids, it works for adults. If we do that for kids, it's going to work for them too. The mission statement is super important. If you get to a place, Natasha, this is overwhelming, let me build it for you. Reach out. This mission statement thing, I don't know how it's running, any of that. I'll send you a video, done 2 years online. I'll send you a video myself running a mission statement with students. But that's your buy-in. Okay. So, but here it is. This is our curriculum. Isn't it nice? What opportunities rely when your curriculum's right here? What opportunities? What opportunities? Anything. Creative. Ownership. Buy-in. This is our curriculum. 2s, this is your curriculum. 5s. 4s. Here's your curriculum. But I'll give you a map. When we talk about backward design, that's really what we're actually doing. We're going to talk about thinking with the end in mind. Preschool, pre-K, preschool. Let me say it one more time. Preschool, pre-K, preschool. What's the difference? What's pre-K stand for? Pre-kindergarten. What's preschool?
Getting ready for pre?
Yes. Yes. Should kids come into 2s knowing things? No, because it's before they should know things. Should kids go into pre-K knowing things?
Yes.
Yes. So you have a responsibility to make sure when she gets those kids, and she's going to hold you to it. She really is. She is. She's going to exercise that muscle. She's going to say, let's talk about why they're not getting this. What are we doing? What are we missing the mark on? If we go in and assume that teachers aren't doing, then we're not building collaborative space. We need to go in and say, something didn't connect with this kid. How do we get them there? So she's pre-K. So if you're out in public and you're talking about what you do, you're a preschool teacher, which means you're laying foundation for school. She's pre-K. She has a responsibility to kindergarten teachers, because those kindergarten teachers are keeping a log on what Lake City Preschool is doing and pre-K is doing in their kindergarten classrooms. I know, I've seen those meetings, I've had those conversations to say, this is what we can expect from this preschool, this preschool. So she has that to shoulder, but with a lot of support. So we're gonna start with the end in mind. What we're gonna do is we're going to go ahead, we're gonna split up again. You know your mission, you know your marching orders. You're gonna get a piece of paper. We're gonna start probably cutting this up. And we're gonna start talking about what are some things that beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year. For the other teams, you're gonna get your paper. You're gonna put the name of your class. I have these beautiful pins that I've spent $10 on, and I'm like, I wanna keep them, but they can have them too. Anyways, you're gonna tell me what can they do and what capacity can they do it. So let's talk about T's. Twos. I can write my first and last name. Okay. I can write. I can, yes. 2-year-olds. Yes, you can. Why is painting not writing? Doesn't have to be with a pencil. Why is working with Play-Doh not writing? So if the whole point is for them to have the gross motor dexterity, start with those activities.
I mean, I did start it and just underlined first. We're not pushing the last name, but I got the first name underlined.
The first, a letter.
Yeah.
In the preschool that I've taught in, because I've taught in some of the preschools around here, just the first letter. Kids identify themselves with the first letter. A picture. Why is that? Why building that? You don't have a choice, first and last name. Well, we'll work on that. I told her, I was like, listen, phone number, you and I will be working together, and we'll talk about all that. I'm going to encourage Handwriting Without Tears. It's a really good program. It's very good. It talks about shapes. I have a homeschool curriculum. Sonia was like, you realize that was developed by the Mormons. I'm like, ooh, okay. But we're going to find something. Becca has a program that looks like that. And then, so we don't have to buy curriculum from them. We can modify and make it our own. But I'm going to encourage Handwriting Without Tears. Forrest. Forrest can write their first letter. By the end of the year, they'll be writing their first name. Only because I know that from experience.
Some may come in.
Already know.
You know, those overachievers.
Yep. 3s should be forming letters. So we'll talk about that. Okay. Grab this. Grab some markers. I'm going to put some posters up. Grab some sticky notes. Grab whatever you need. I'm going to circle. Sonia and Ryan will circle too as we listen. Forrest. Here you go. What can you guys chew off? There you go, Forrest. Take your chart. What can you chew off? When you talk about Letterland, there is no script for Letterland. That's why it works. So when we were talking about joy, could start with J.
Yeah.
What I would encourage you guys to do when you're talking specifically about letters, I would talk about characters.
Yeah.
Jumping Jack, what does he do? Annie Apple, what does he do? Because when they get at the end of your year to her, they need to know the sounds. Jump.
Yeah. That's what I was pronunciation.
So I would even really focus on letter recognition or character recognition, letter recognition, sound in this one, because by 5 they need to know an A sounds like an A. Because you're getting them ready for kindergarten.
Like
So you guys are
pre-K.
you're preschool and then to pre-K. You're right, because some of them are going to start at 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're in that pre-K.
My son was 4.
You know what, Miss TK5 needs to jump in over here, doesn't she?
No.
She does, because you guys would be a BOY. She would be your EOY. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because she's a TK5. TK5. We need you. So, their curriculum, your curriculum is what they need to have by the end of the year if a kid is going to start in kinder. Your curriculum, their curriculum is your beginning of the year. Your curriculum is their end of year. Let me say that again. Okay. So, Chris, if you want to come here and be like raw with us, this actually needs to plan together. You're teaching the same kids. She's adding the social element to it. You're also teaching the same kids. So, what you need by the end of the year should be what she has to do at the beginning of the year. You're ending with this. This is what you're doing. What she's doing and saying the same thing as her BOY. Oops, sorry. And then she's doing a measure to get. Am I speaking clarity over what we're talking about? Okay. So this needs to be collaborative. We'll go to kinder from you. So this is the pre-K team.
I'm the ones that have the.
This is the pre-K team.
You couldn't get in.
So basically, if you have a kid that doesn't come in, what support do we add? If we have a kid that doesn't do this, what support do we have? How do we strengthen this side to make sure this is your executive decision? These need to be collaborating together. She's an extension. They're the curriculum. They need to be together. I'll tell you one of the things that I was still stuck on. There are some moving up ceremonies in preschools where when they do transition to the age of 5 and they've committed to kindergarten, like you start touring kindergartens in January, they'll do a transition. But if you guys are not doing that at the preschool, then this team needs to collaborate as much as possible. So it'll almost be like
Well, because our graduation date, it says all students will be included. So, like, it might be that they're doing, but that would mean they're doing a moving up for each.
for each grade. Well, theirs is
Which I
mid-year.
personally love that.
Oh, yeah.
All of the kids.
It's
and
huge.
they're learning.
You did a lot of things this
Yeah.
year.
Which a lot of schools.
And you're going to do the bridge. You guys are going to get a bridge? A preschool bridge?
I
She
think
has
that's
one.
Yeah,
She
I
has
love
one.
that.
Or she had one at the preschool she
it's
opened
called-
before. So she has one of those bridges
That's
to do that. Oh, yeah. So, yes. Stop me next time and say, because I don't know more than you.
I know, but I had to like think about it
Process.
and process it a little bit more.
Yes. What is your attack plan to that extension? I just, in more times than one, have found children get held back based on SEL versus academically, because academics comes with maturation. A kid doesn't know the numbers, and then they wake up and they're like, I know my numbers. And you're like, okay. But SEL, and that's where I told her morning meeting is going to be a big deal. It's going to be a deal for you guys. Morning meeting is going to be a big deal. How do we engage in lessons? How do we get them started? Circle time can be a big deal. Mission statements, things like that. I think this is the approach to go. And if it's not, we modify.
Well, and I feel like repetition is the mother of learning.
It literally is.
So
It literally is.
Well, 'cause
Absolutely.
one of the things-
So the worst thing that we can do is say they don't know it. You always say they don't know it yet, and Dr. Dweck tries about that. And so the idea is to say is they don't know it. No, they don't know it yet because they need something. I mean, we're walking to Carowinds and he goes, state line. And he's a delayed language learner. And my husband goes, I didn't even know how to read state line when I was 6. I said, well. So maturation in all of our research studies really say that that's what comes with it. Is there's just, it's going to click.
and it's different for every
It's
child.
different for every child.
They all learn at different
Yes.
and they all learn in different
Yes.
ways. Like
Yes.
touching, feeling.
Yes.
Some.
So I
I'm a
did
book
mention to
person,
her
so-
with this because they're interested in having an assessment tool. With this, there comes an assessment tool. You guys could use it as an EOY. You could use it as a BOY if you have. You're gonna have kids that you're like, you're 4? Are you sure? Right.
Like you're 8.
Right, exactly. So we have an assessment tool that you guys could use. We could modify an assessment tool, but that assessment tool is really going to drive her. So she has data to be prepared for, because the conversations are a little more critical when they get into kinder. When they leave you, they're going from pre-K, they're going into kinder. They're 10 months behind their peers if they're not moved up, and we want to make sure. Studies have shown us that the most poorly misbehaved children are the ones that don't feel connection in the classroom and the ones that struggle with unidentified ADHD. ADHD is one of the biggest reasons that students don't make the social and emotional connections in school. That's true. So what we don't, and if they quit at 16, they quit school by 16, there's a 80% chance they'll graduate. they quit, what is it? No, I'm sorry. If they're held back in one grade, 80%. They're held back in two, 65%. So North Carolina has huge initiative all the way from the pre-K, preschool program to say, make sure we're graduating 80, all these kids. So schools, my mom does this at Lake Norman, has to hit certain numbers. They have to beat their number every year. And in all means cost, because it is not in their best interest to quit school. But they have that option at 16. So what we're doing at this, especially in yours, not to put that shoulder, but for you to feel very firm in that position that God's laid you into, is to say, I've got a real responsibility here to make sure these kids are getting what they need, because this is bigger than what we're doing here.
Well, and I feel like connection, I just know this from my personal experience with my children, transitioning them from homeschooling, because I homeschooled for 20 years, to
So you
school.
know, you're an expert.
No, not at all. But it's the connection with the teacher.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
it really is.
Amen.
My student that struggles learns better when she's connecting with that
That's
teacher,
how
knows
mine
that
is.
teacher
100%.
cares.
Amen. And our parents send us their most precious resource.
But I feel like that'll make me a better teacher.
Yeah.
Because
Use your experience. All right.
okay,
No more
so-
interrupting you. Songs, and that's what your twos should be doing. Any apple, she says ah. She says ah. She says ah. Any apple, she says ah. She belongs to Mr. A. All right, let's sing that song together. Because by the time you get to threes, they need to start recognizing that. And you can demonstrate handwriting without tears. You go up and down and across. And you'll see these little 2-year-olds. But all you're doing is giving them visual representations. I think, hold on, I know you're asking me that question. I think as a school, and we can't do all of this in today because we haven't even gotten a lesson plan, but these first three need to be consistent. Every day, every single classroom, your arrival procedures, but if one teacher is like high five, fist bump, hugs, we're all giving something. Play-Doh, cotton balls, tweezers, because all you're really doing is you are gross motor. Exactly. Because if they can't have gross motor, they're not going to do anything. This is geared towards your group. This is really good for that. So the other thing I think we need to do all at the same time is circle time, where Ryan and Sonia, a parent, a pastor, goes through and they see circle time consistent. And that's the time where Miss Ryan goes in, good morning, guys. I hope you have a great day. I'm so excited to hear about what you're doing. And then goes to the threes. And you're all consistently there. The rest of it is going to change and can change. So during this morning, the circle time is what we decide. In the month of joy, we're going to do a J. We're going to look at Yo-Yo Man, Yellow Yo-Yo Man. We're going to look at Oscar Orange. Maybe we'll look at an A, but we're going to be reviewing them. The thing that cemented for her the most was we don't teach a letter a month. We teach letters all month. So if we say here's an A, we also go back over C. Do you remember what this is? And for your kids, you're going to have some kids that go, hey! How do you know? I just knew. My brain told me.
Yeah.
Cool. And you're going to do lots of songs. Your Letterland book, all of your characters and your stories, and 2-year-olds can do this. What do you see? Apple. How many do you see? What's this? How many apples? Can we count? 1, 2, 3, 4. I see a spaceman. I see an ant. Ants they hurt. What do you do when you get an ant? Pretend you got to get rid of the ants. Ouch. Get rid of the ants, because that's what they need. They need to make those connections kinesthetically and visually, and make those through their body. Use it as a teaching tool. Every single thing you have is a teaching tool. It's never just, all right, we're going to read the story. Castle. Has anyone ever seen a castle before? What do you think you would do if you went to a castle? I would be a king. I would walk through the castle just like this. And I would do this because they understand everything's through play. And that's where I would focus in. So I'm going to...
That's what I'm thinking in my brain. So writing it down on paper is hard because it's going to kind of be with twos like for the moment as they...
But you need a compass, right?
Yeah.
So you need a roadmap. So what I would tell you is, you know you're going to take care of shapes. You know you're going to take... What I think you're trying to do is you're trying to lesson plan, and we're brainstorming curriculum. So you want to think about curriculum as your house. Lesson planning is the furniture.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Curriculum's your house. Her and I can take shapes. You could literally put shapes, numbers, letterland characters. Your lesson plans, how you can teach shapes, how you can teach numbers, how you can teach characters.
Okay.
So don't take on you're just doing the house. And you throw every idea. I want them to keep their hands out of the mouth. Put it on there. Because then that's going to hold you responsible to your lesson plan. What's it going to look like? Does that help? All right, when we're talking about Letterland, what we're really doing is we're introducing our twos to the characters. Who's Annie Apple? What does she do? What does she look like? Annie Apple, she says ah, she says ah, she says ah. Annie Apple, she says ah, she belongs to Mr. A. So then what we're doing is we're going to go into formation of letters. And then eventually we're going to go into sounds, and we're going to match the character, the sound, and the formation together. And that's how you use Letterland program. I think you guys and me need to agree that our arrival procedure, our morning work, and our circle time. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and just make the decision to say the first 3 hours, their expectation, because this is just a model, right? And what we will do is the 3 of us will collaborate like we've been doing for months. We're going to add a section here and say, what are the letters? What are the shapes? What are the number identification? But reminding people that we're not just focusing on A that moment, we're doing all of them all the time. So these are your kindergarten goals. This is what kindergarten should know during their kindergarten year. And we're just going to work back from here. We're going to identify what are we going to do with this in 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the TK5 to make sure they've got this for traditional classroom instruction in kindergarten. So we want to ask you this. We would like to mention schedule. Schedule. Yep. That one in it? No. Nope. I have copies somewhere. I have copies on copies. Perfect. Sonia, Ryan, and I were saying, and I think I mentioned this to your group, I'd like to see arrival, morning work, and circle time happen at the same time in the same order so that we can get that trained. Capiche? Everybody on board? Anybody totally like, hey,
Check these towns,
heck no?
because kids will start coming in at 8:55,
Okay.
but I want to make sure I got the right.
So if we're on that, the question to this group is, when we're in circle time, and we're talking about letter review, and we're not talking about a letter a month, we're talking about letters all the time, every day. We searched, we cannot find a consistent reason people teach letters in certain orders. We are finding that most teachers will consistently teach letters that follow a theme, a unit, a program, whatever it may be as far as building. Science of reading says we introduce a word, we look at the context of the word, because one word could have lots of different contexts. We look at the sounds that flow through the word. Does the word look like something else? We're not doing word families anymore. We're not doing rhyming anymore. So it's changed the way we look at it. We take it more of a syllabic approach to it. Apple.
So like,
Ooh.
well, that's what a Beck. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
perfect.
I'm just it is.
So
all
maybe it's all lining up.
Phonetics.
It's all phonetics.
They don't teach it A, B, C. They teach it in a way that you can put the
like CH and then okay now let's
Or-
put it together
or-
to make that noise.
Yes.
and then make a blend. It's not
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They give you the foundation of the vowels.
Right.
And then adding.
And you're talking about like end of K first? Is that the Abeka program, or was it
Well,
a
they have a
preschool?
pre-K and a K.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
So
that's
we were going to kind of merge the two together.
Yeah.
But using the characters, their
Yeah.
characters, not Rebecca's characters, or
Yes.
core word,
Yeah.
like apple for A, although she
Yeah.
is apple.
Yeah.
B might be something
Oi,
different for.
ah, the OUs,
Yeah.
the IIs. So here's my approach that I would tell you on this. So there's 2 sets of cards that I've encouraged them to put into your library. One is just going to be the letter cards. A, apple, what's the sound? What does it look like? Can we form it? Then there's going to be those blends. Oi, I. They really have to have mastery of those sounds in order to make those blends. And then what you start in kinder is something called sight words versus high frequency. A sight word says at.
Yeah.
Okay. A sight word is not think. You really couldn't go N. You would have to know that the IN blends together. So what I'm hearing you say is, which would be appropriate for you, is to make those blends happen once they've mastered those letter sounds. You're going to be making sure they know their letters. They know the formation of letters, not writing letters. And they know the sounds of letters. Because you've got to think, in both of your situations, you're BOY kindergarten. So at some point, once they understand that, they're going to move into this. And if you look at Letterland, there's word lists, there's spelling lists and all that. I just don't, we're one part to the reading journey. We're the pre-part. Once they can guarantee on their dibbles, you know, all of those things that they take those measures, that's when they're going to start talking about the blends. Because K is still going to happen irregardless. We're using as what is pre-K even built towards? It's built towards this, right? But this is happening in K. That K teacher is still going to teach and review. I can write. I know my colors. Like, you don't have to have all this mastered. She's going to recover it. Am I making myself clear in that area to say they're not going to leave you reading?
Correct. Yes.
Level A readers. Children are visual and kinesthetic learners. So we had a discussion over here. We're saying, hey, how do we get some of the emotional skills? These kids are COVID babies. They're used to masks, maybe used to not being around adults. Well, the way you do that is you teach a book and let the book do the teaching for you because they're visual, right? So to me, these classrooms should be flooded with books. And maybe that says, hey, Sonia, I want these books for my next lesson, my next unit. She orders them from the library and she goes in, they load those books, you have your books, and then she drops them off. It took me, I would say about an hour to pull all of these books. I pulled Christian-based books, Bible-based books. I picked books that every kindergarten student is going to read this book in there, or preschool. Everyone's going to have lots of experience with these books. So when we talk about activities, when we're talking about book instruction, this is what we're talking about. I put on your lesson plan in particular a section about the book, because if I had to put myself in a category, I did this pretty early on. I'm a book-based instruction. So when we read Stone Soup, are you guys familiar with Stone Soup? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we read Stone Soup together, we built Stone Soup. Rocks, mud kitchen, study the letter M, right? When we talked about cities, we got chalk. I have a big picture. Our entire driveway became a roadway with cities and Legos, and we were out there for hours, and we were talking about cities, and we were talking about houses and what that sounded like in a car. What does a car do? It goes up and it goes down. And what noise does it make? It does this. And so I put a weekly lesson plan, not a daily. We will get to the point of daily. I have an outline, but at least for a weekly, because I don't want to run out of time with all this stuff that you're going to consume. This is what I believe you guys are moving in. Doesn't mean it's finite. So they're always fine-tuned. They're always something we circle back to. In your PLC, your professional learning community, when you guys meet as teams, you're saying, pull out the lesson plan. That didn't work. 2-year-olds were like, cross it out, move it over to the side, put what works into there. So it's a moving document. So this is what I just came up off the top of my head. Focus, joy. Books. Here's some books I could use for joy. Pretend. Huge. When we talk about centers, I feel pretend play is huge. I taught our daughter mathematics using a cash register. We had a little grocery store, cardboard box, little grocery store, and I was like, okay, I have $5. What can I buy? She's like, you have monies for this one and this one. Sticky notes with ones. Sticky notes. And this one and this one. Okay, here's my $3. How much do I have left? 1, 2. Pretend play is huge. If I could do it my way, I would have every one of these rooms with nursery. I mean, if you look, some things that I pulled up for you when we talk about pretend play, because I personally believe that this is super important. If you look at pretend play, these teachers go all out. A Target, a Starbucks. I mean, they really go all out. The baby section, my kid would go nuts. Mom, you don't understand. There's a baby section. I have a grocery store in my living room. I mean, look, guys, we don't even have to buy some of this stuff. I made my stuff out of cardboard, honestly. Humpty Dumpty. You can play in the flower shop. That was my daughter's favorite. Bunch of fake flowers, cardboard box cut out like a window, and a little cash register, and then play flower shop. You can do puzzles. You can do Play-Doh. You can do scissors. You can do books. And then as that happens, you're pulling small group. Come here, come see me. What letter is this? A. And I was telling these guys over here, I think, I've got books that I can send to y'all. A, apple. Can you say it with me? A, apple. So I have those resources that I can provide. So pretend, centers, whatever it looks like, that's where you're pulling those small groups. And then you're starting to figure out, what do they know on that list, right? Do they understand social emotional wellness, okay? Math. So we're going to talk about numbers. They reduced it from 1 to 100 to 1 to 10. I think you'll be in the 1 to 5s. I think you'll be 1, 2, 3, if I had to be honest. I think you'll be counting shapes. Mathematics. I cannot tell you this enough. If you're doing children with mathematics that are 5 and under, 6 and under, and you're doing it on paper, they're not learning it. It has to be handheld. Grab a box of Cheerios and do some math. Grab your calendar time, because calendars are a number line. Did you realize that? And the reason, actually, I have a very good friend of mine that will put her calendar horizontally, because it's a number line, and have kids count 1, 2, what day is it? 3, 4, 5, because you're teaching sequencing at that point, okay? Math has to be done with food. It has to be done with hands. It has to be done when you have a kid that's unengaged and they're playing in the little flower shop and they're like, no. And you say something like, how about this? I need 3 flowers. How do I get 3 flowers? Because that's the goal, right? That's the goal. They need to tell you 3. They don't want to participate in your math lesson. It happens. Kids have an affinity to math. Just do that. Do those little opportunities. Discovery, I think knowing the way that these two work, they're going to want that. She wants field trips. She wants people up in here giving our kids these amazing experiences. The other thing is, discovery actually allows you to tailor the Bible into that section, right? Discovery is whatever the needs of the school. Maybe it's a scientist to come on. Maybe Miss Tasha comes out here and she dresses up a Letterland character and she sings and dances or whatever. Discovery is going to give you that option to say, how do we tie in something that makes ours unique, because it's discovery. It's not free time. It's not Lake City time. It's discovery time, right? And then, of course, art. Every good preschool, pre-K program has good art projects. Let's be real, okay? These are very tangible evidence. In Valentine's Day, Christmas, I mean, if as a parent, if I didn't get a craft at Christmas for my kid, I'd be like, why? You know, it's like they love that stuff. And then Letterland, of course. And based on the discussions we're having in this room, I think the follow-up is going to be, hey, are we going to teach it the same letters in the same order to get to a common place, or do we want to do our own thing, and then we're going to come up with a check-off sheet where they can self-report what have they done, how do they feel that level went? Do they feel like A's mastered? How do they know it's mastered? So that's the discussion that's going to be ever going, because we're building a plane, and we're flying. How do you guys feel about this format? Hate it, love it, good, it's okay. What needs to be changed? So if I'm thinking from your perspective, I would say that my focus and my small group must be done no matter what.
Right.
Because I can tie any book, I can tie any discovery, any craft into this. But I need my small group. Every single kid needs to be in small group and make the assessment, and I need my focus because my unit is on joy and we're teaching a biblical-based program.
Yeah, so Jesus needs to be every day in whatever you do.
Right.
Let's get that clear.
And then what I would do is structure my small group to say that needs to be my reading and my math, or it needs to be my kinder list in my small group. And I'm starting here. Hey, let's do a little small group, like an assessment. I want you to write your name. And your name, they're going to be in shapes and patterns. And you're going to keep a log. like we talked about, and then keep working on that. All right, the next day, small group. All right, let's talk about colors. What color is this? What color is this? What color is this? I saw a really cool thing that I didn't make one, but I thought this was cool. It's called the Color Monsters, and you build a blue triangle. You make a cutout. The kids have to toss in their color and their shapes. Why is that not an assessment? Because it's not on paper? That's an assessment. That would be a very quick way for them to be in a center. You're maybe working with a kid and they're playing this game, and you could go and check the buckets and see, do they understand colors and shapes? Those are assessments. So maybe that's where it needs to be the small group and the focus need to be consistent every single day, because you know you have a task list, whereas these guys can say, hey, we know we're going to be really focusing in on this book. We're going to take a longer time. Does that answer the question? Give you direction. Okay. Oh, good. Perfect. They got it. That's awesome. So I have a daily lesson plan. The way it looks is, and the reason I didn't bring it out is because teachers in my profession, when you say daily lesson plans, they're like, here's my 2-week notice, I'm moving on. Daily lesson plans can feel scripted. So I have a format. I'm going to add to this folder. You choose how you want to use it. And it says things like Bible verse, background. A lot of us don't know what's going on, right? With all of the characters and the settings and the this and the thous and things like that. So we need some background. And I'll put a model in there. Then it says books, math activity that you put in, reading activity. It's very descriptive with lots of language. The idea of a daily lesson plan is that if you're out, somebody could pick it up and they could teach you. Which is fine if we've done this for a year. We're doing this on the spot. So some of us are going to be like, yay! And some of us are like, I need a little more structure. I have that. This will be in the folder. That will be in the folder. I have a survey that I'm going to be sharing with them that's going to tell us everything we need to know. And it's going to look like this. And I really did want to put on my survey, like, what do you think about the presenter? Is her hair looking good? Is she nice? Is she funny enough? But it's not about me. Because I'm going to text you and say, how did it go? What do you think I could have improved on? I want to hear that feedback, okay? I'm going to be sending you this. 3 very simple questions. What are 3 things, your name, what are 3 things you gathered? What are 2 things that were your aha moments you learned? What is 1 thing I can support you with? And that is going to be our running document, because you get to digest all of this stuff. And then you tell me, Natasha, I still need a daily outline. And I say, here. Natasha, I need you to tell me what letters. Here, right? Okay, I want to get on this soapbox. If you are not reading the books you assign to your children in your class, you are doing a disservice to yourself. 12 years ago, someone in our district said, Natasha, don't do something that your name's going to get beside a headline. During COVID, parents had more access to instructional materials than ever before, which means they're aware. Books align with core values, and sometimes they don't. If you do not preview a book, you are asking to put yourself in harm's way. We can defend you to a point.
But if you do something stupid...
Or, I'm sorry, if you make a mistake and the parent says,
Kind of.
we're listening to this book, and it's talking about a core value that doesn't align with the LCP, and you say, oh man, I thought it was good. Natasha said it was good. Right? I've read these books. I've looked at every single one of these books and made sure the LCP, because I wouldn't bring them. I had a bunch of books. Please preview any videos, any books. That is the state of education you're teaching in today. And think about it from the perspective of a parent. We're sending our best resource. Please. Please, please, please just prove them. And some of you may have experience with that, and we don't even have to get into that discussion. But Letterland.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's now homeschooling one of her children.
Common Sense Media is a resource that I have used for Miss Ryan over and over again. Common Sense Media used to have a biblical-based background. It is not biblical-based anymore. They're a corporation. What they do is they tell you everything about that video, and then they have parents from the Christian and the secular community that comment on it. So a really quick resource to do for you guys to talk about a book, get the book, preview it. Make sure the giving tree doesn't have things that are not going to align. I keep pointing over here, but it's not here. And then if you want to know a movie or whatever, you have a movie day, like Llama Llama Pajama would be a great movie day, coming in your pajamas. Use that resource, the Common Sense Media, because those parents really analyze it. I hate to put that pressure on you, but as a parent, I understand too. We make mistakes. It is what it is. The nice thing about collaboration is you guys are going to be at a planning point where you're talking about it, where someone can say, oh, remember this one time that we did this witch? Then we're already talking about it, because I agree. But my husband's anti-Santa. He's like, how do we justify Jesus being real if we're teaching about Santa, right? So anti-Santa. I love traditions and folklore, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. And I have an elf that teaches my kids how to read, and it's so much fun. And I post it on social media, and people love it. And I'm like, okay, this doesn't align. So it's nice to have his perspective, because I need to remember that for myself. It's also nice to have mine. That's collaboration. Professional learning communities, at least meeting once a week, correct? Where you guys get together as a staff and have discussions, right? We're gonna have celebrations and annoyances and things like that, morning meetings and team huddles.
Every day.
Every day, well, perfect, right? Because that's the good collaboration. The other thing is you're gonna have a partner in the room that's gonna help self-regulate. Because yeah, well, you don't have a person in the room. You have a lot of people in the room, right? So you're going to really moderate that through your PLCs, through those learning times. I will tell you, go in understanding two things. Number one, you're teaching to the best of your ability. So that's the grace we're going to extend over you. They're sending our most precious resource. Our district reached out to me in 2021, and they said, Natasha, and it was our district admin, and they said, we have to talk to you. And I was like, oh, again, great. Because the first time was jump on Zoom, you're helping us build a virtual school. I'm like, am I really? Because I'm quitting my job to be at home because I want to be at Chick-fil-A at 11 o'clock. So I know. So I quit my job to be a stay-at-home mom, and the district's like, no. Anyways, they reached out, and they were like, we got to talk to you. I said, there's something different about your emails. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, all of these teachers keep sending parents emails. Your kid's not doing work. Your emails say, I notice your student is missing something. How can I help? And she said, that little transition de-escalates these conversations. So Ryan came to me. She was concerned about a book her student was reading. And what I said to Ryan was not, Ryan, you're crazy. Ryan, I agree. Let's take the school down. I said, Ryan, how can I help? And what I did is I provided lots of good resources to her to give her more information because she didn't know. She's sending her most precious resource. The teacher is teaching to the ability of what they know. And what we did, they eventually got rid of the book because it's better for students. But one of the things that we did is we came into a collaborative space. So when a parent comes and they're like, witches, how can I help? What can we do? Let's have that discussion because they're sending their most precious resource. I know, you know, I've invested so much money in my kid's brain, my son in particular, that I'm like, this is my resource. I mean, I've done without because he needed OT and it's $100 an hour. So when I come in and say, hey, I need to talk to you about my kid, it's not coming from a space to say, let me throw this on you. This is my resource. This is what I put my time and energy into. So I think if we go into that perspective, it just melts. And then give yourself the grace that. So originally what I was going to have you do on my daily lesson plan that I built on my anchor chart that my daughter's now using, I had sticky notes with all the activities and put them everywhere. And you were going to place them into a lesson plan, right? Here's the problem. As things progress, we find better resources. So last night, as my husband's coming in off of a mower and I'm yelling at him, bringing grass all in my house, but he's like, what are you doing? I was like, you're interrupting me right now talking about mowing. But I built you the start to a resource library because this document becomes collaborative. So when Faith finds something that she loves, she adds to it. Right?
That's
my fault too, Tara. Thank you. I will know your names at some point, right? Sorry. So when they find something that's better, they can. I did just preemptive, right? If you click this link, there's 50 different things you could do for STEM. The idea here, and I love Busy Toddler. That's the curriculum I actually based it off, and I'm going to share it with you. because I love Busy Toddler. That's what, she's a reading instruction based, and I love her. But 50 things, and the idea here is I want to teach number lines. I want to teach value. Oh, I could do a domino number line. Perfect. Copy, paste, put it into the lesson plan. Then use the description of what it is. Your lesson plan outline is for you. Your daily lesson plan is to give people information to recreate it. Because you building your lesson plan will know, oh, I know what to do with this. But if you had a sub in your class, which we're going to get to that point where we're going to have a resource, right? A new teacher comes in, an additional teacher, because I think your program's going to grow. This church has grown very significantly. That's where you're going to put all the description in there. All right, thumbs up if this is a resource library that could work. Do I need to print out binders of papers for you guys to go and access? I want you to use your cell phone, QR code to this survey. I want you to submit the survey when you're ready to submit it. So QR code to this survey, submit it when you want to submit it. I want you to submit it 16 times if you need to. This is your survey. What this is going to do is going to capture all of your responses, and it's going to allow us to personalize the instruction. There is no reason for me to go to Faith and give her something she already knows. She's going to say, Newton, move on. So this is going to allow me and our team to personalize it. So what you're going to say is one question, girl, not one question, 10 questions. And you need to put all 10 questions you have. What we are going to be charged to do is respond to all 10 questions. So that's all you're doing. If you're worried about your parking spot, if you're worried about car drop-off, if you're worried about safety procedures, any of that stuff, put it in the question. We are going to respond to it. So this is where we narrow down. We've done this whole group. We've broken off into small groups. This is where we narrow down to say, what do you need? And you're just telling me what are things that stood out. So in the whatever many hours I was doing, what stood out? What are the things you've learned? And then what are your questions? And you just survey, and you fill this survey out because it's just for your group. QR codes are so helpful for parents to fill out forms. It took me 3 seconds to make this form. I can get you guys QR codes, forms, and what they do, QR code, fill out the form, give you your contact information. You have it on a Google Doc. You will never, ever, not Google Doc, sorry, Google survey. You'll never have to worry about a paper copy. It's always there. And QR codes can be placed everywhere. Want to know more about our preschool? QR code. Your only mission, purpose, vision, desire is to teach kids the love of Christ. The academics will fall in line. If I was concerned, I would have already pulled these two and said, Sonia, Ryan, this is not going to work. I went over to them and I said, this is going to work. I've been doing this 12 years. Taught a lot of kids. So what feels scary to you is like, it's a Monday, okay? You're going to be great. So above all else, what I can speak over you is teach children like the love of Christ. And just remind them that they're created for a purpose, that God loves them, and that through academics, they can grow as believers and followers in Christ.